with the good old boys that told of misfortune. They lent and conferred quietly and relayed an old legend, singing goolally, goolally, lie, goolally, goolally, lie, taken by a thirsty flagman, ended up back of Bourke, back of Bourke, back of Bourke. She came for a drink and dance and ended up back of Bourke.
Welcome to Back of Bourke.
The podcast where we attempt to unravel the mystery of a forgotten 60s Australian television show that few people remember, and what they do remember is fragmented and outright weird. The song snippet that started the episode is a recording of Charles Cobbler Chaseman from 1935 singing the song When Billy Burd Went to Bourke.
In what can only be described as an eerie coincidence, Cobbler's adapted version, When Billy Burd Went to Bourke, was set to be published in Bando Patterson's famous collection of old bush songs. However, the song mysteriously refused to be printed. It just could not be inked to paper.
It baffled the publishers and was eventually removed from the master copy. We only have it now as it was passed down from player to player through the years. And this, the only recording of Chaseman himself playing it, was released by the New South Wales Bush Balladeer Preservation Society in the 90s and is now easily found online.
Much like Robert Johnson's legend of the crossroads in the American South, there are a lot of stories of musicians being affected in some way by the supernatural, and the legend around Chaseman is not an exception. Some bush balladeers considered the song haunted. They feared playing it as they believed the tone of the old lyrics might summon a ghost made of shadow.
It's pretty ominous stuff. The most famous singer of the song, as we said, was not afraid. He was the wandering bush singer Charles Cobbler Chaseman, also known as C. Cobbler Chaseman, or sometimes 3 C's. Cobbler was known for wearing his shoes down to nothing as he wandered from town to town. He carried his songs and stories across the Australian outback, leaving mysteries in his wake. In a twist of fate that echoes the very song that made him infamous, Cobbler met his end in a mysterious fashion. After claiming to be followed by an unknown presence, he dove into a billabong, never to be seen again. His companions swear nothing was following him at the time.
The reason we continue to discuss strange coincidences like Cobbler and his song is that through our research it is becoming more and more difficult to separate Back of Bourke, the TV show, from Back of Bourke, the location. Based on all that we have read, heard and seen, the intrinsic link between program and place continues to grow more apparent.
There are recurring themes to the stories, articles and first-hand accounts regarding Back of Bourke. The most common being a figure made of shadow that stalks those near Bourke, and disappearance of people in the area of Back of Bourke. Thank you to all of you who have been in touch to tell us you remember watching Back of Bourke and that you have proof of its existence. We promise we're trying to read all your correspondence as quickly as possible. It is helping hugely with our research.
Also, just a note, before we get too far into this, we are not journalists,
Nope.
not even in our everyday jobs.
Not a chance.
So if we seem biased, we likely are. However, we are both innately skeptics, meaning we will continue to actively prove against the far-fetched.
Speaking of which, a listener has kindly been in touch with the show and provided an old VHS tape that they kept from when they were a kid. But before anyone gets too excited, we checked the tape and there's nothing on it, just static. Rachel has explained that her dad used to record their favourite shows for them. He would write in excellent detail what was recorded on the tape on the home brand sleeve. The sleeve has 3 items listed.
The 3 items may be our first glimpse at some of the episodes of Back of Bourke. In neat, all capitals writing, a presumed title is listed, next to which is an adjective in parentheses, such as the word boring. Rachel said her dad used to do this to make sure he remembered which episodes of shows were okay to show them as kids. Nothing too gory or sexual or scary, things like that. Under the title is a small description, in the same script, which gives a small summary of the episode. Rachel's dad did this for the same reason, so he could remember specifically what was on the tape.
The first note says, "Welcome to Bourke," in brackets, boring. Guy walks around town and gives a lesson about how it was built, etc. Next is Me and My Shadow, which says, too scary for kids. After moving to a new town, a young lady senses something is following her. She sees a figure in the reflection of mirrors and shop windows that is too long and too lumpy to be a shadow. She faces the strange realization that whatever this presence is, it is getting closer, both familiar and foreign, ellipses, but also possibly evil. Finally, Man of Iron, which has the parentheses, fine to watch. A weedy man is suddenly tough after a mysterious incident at his smelting job has left him indestructible. Helps people in Bourke, but things start to go wrong. He breaks his car getting into it, he can no longer do his favourite things, and in a final tragedy, drowns trying to save someone from the waters of a billabong.
I suppose neither Rachel or we can say that with 100% certainty that these are episodes from Back of Bourke.
But they are.
It seems like they are.
Since we spoke about it at the top of the episode, I think that episode 2 is especially interesting.
The shadow again.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more prominent.
Originally, I thought it was like a frequency illusion, you know, a cognitive bias to noting a shadow figure in research because we had been discussing it so much.
But laying it all out of the past couple of weeks, I think helps prove otherwise.
Maybe.
I know we'll get to the Welcome to Bourke episode later, but what do you think about the other episode, Man of Iron?
Yeah, this one to me seems very much more in the tradition of the Twilight Zone, like taking a pop culture phenomenon at the time and giving it a spooky sci-fi angle.
But the bit that is especially interesting is the mention of drowning in a billabong, because that's what apparently happened to Cobbler. But his body was never found. There are so many reports of missing people around Back of Bourke.
Yeah, but it's like we've discussed a lot, like it could be that the territory out there is just extremely dangerous and arid.
But do you believe that? The number of disappearances we've noted is like far greater than any other place in the country.
Yeah, it's most definitely strange. I'm not saying that. It's just, however, I'm not yet convinced it is anything more than reckless tourists that appear all over Australia.
Come on, really?
Yeah, I will not deny that they are connected. I'm just cautious of conflating fake Back of Bourke with the real Back of Bourke before we know more about the show.
We thought nothing could be better than getting the VHS from Rachel, but we've had a Zoom chat with one of the Back of Bourke listeners who does not wish to be named. You know who you are, and we are so grateful for your continued help. They may work at a television network that has the majority of its pre-70s archive undigitized.
As discussed in episode 1 of the podcast, footage from Back of Bourke is unlikely to exist. However, it seems some paper ephemera may have survived. Our listener has started to look for anything related to Back of Bourke.
They have made 2 amazing discoveries in the archive. One a letter from the Shire Council and the other a list of filming locations. Combining our own research and now these letters and list provided, we can confidently let you know that Back of Bourke was not actually filmed in Bourke. There are at least 2 attempts to get permission from the town council to film Back of Bourke in Bourke.
The letters are significantly disintegrated, enough that the addresser and addressee are mostly illegible, but the majority of the content can be identified or sufficiently presumed, which is how I'm going to read it right now. We will post pictures of the letters on our website and social media platforms. For now, the correspondence reads as follows. 3rd of September 1964. Dear Unknown Z, Unknown. Re Back of Bourke location filming. Thank you for your letter. Unfortunately, we have not previously received any request from Mr. Simon Proctor in regards to filming your television program in Bourke. The City Council have now been made aware of your ask and request you complete the enclosed form for our consideration of the possibility of using the town. Please let me know if you have any further questions. Sincerely, Francis, Unknown. 1st of October, 1964. Dear Miss Unknown, re Back of Bourke location filming council update. Thank you for your letter. Unfortunately, we have never received a request from yourself or anybody else to film a television program in Bourke. We are willing to discuss your proposal. Please send all relevant information to this same address. Sincerely, Francis, Unknown.
Yeah. In addition to these letters, our sources also found a film location list likely related to the first episode. The location list is a single page. At the top says Back of Bourke, Scout Notes, SD Proctor, 1962. And then what we gather is a filming location next to which is a corresponding episode location. Like the letters, we will post this list on our website. However, there is pause about whether this location list is a fabrication from a later date.
This doubt stems from the first location listed, the Whyalla Railway Station. The Whyalla Railway Station was not open until October 1972. It was not even in development at the time that this list would have been made. Michael reached out to the active railway forums and asked about the station for confirmation.
I found my people.
Yes.
Like everything Back of Bourke related, I came across more conflicting information, even from the experts. And the Railpage gang are experts.
That's so cool.
Well, hey, don't make fun of my friends.
So cool.
They agreed that the Whyalla Public Railway Station opened in 1972, but some of them also said that the plans for the station, according to Commonwealth Rail, go back as far as the 1950s. Originally, this was thought to be more continued plans for the active commercial rail that ran through Whyalla due to the shipping yards, but some of these documents definitely distinguish between the two. But there's also a vague mention of like a structure being completed of the apparently non-existent Whyalla railway station in 1960. However, this is a footnote in a larger annual report, and my new mates cannot be sure exactly to what it is referring.
I don't like not knowing this. It feels like something easy to prove.
You don't trust railway forums? Shame on you.
How dare you? I would never turn against the Railpage gang. No, it's more what this means for our location list that I find frustrating.
So, do you think it's fake?
There is a possibility, yeah.
Seems odd that a fake location scouting note would have been added to the archive at which our listener works. I'm inclined to believe they're like credibility due to information we are unable to release, as it may expose their identity.
Look, I agree. And therefore, if we believe our listener...
Which we do. Yes.
Then the location list would have had to have been forged by an unknown maker and placed in a pile of loose papers waiting to be found, which seems impractical if they wanted it to be found and published.
It has been a couple of days since we last recorded.
We wanted to make a plan about the location list, about whether it was something we continued to pursue.
We've been in contact with the library in Whyalla, and they have not been able to find any news reports on a television crew filming in the town in the mid-60s.
However, the next day, the lovely librarian we talked to contacted us with the number of one of his former colleagues who had been in the town most of her life.
I think his exact words were, "If anyone were to remember something like that, she would, and she loves a chat."
Michael recorded a long call with the amazing Jackie, who did remember a television show being filmed.
Thanks for letting us record, Jackie.
That's my pleasure. I'm very happy to help.
So tell us all about Whyalla. Neither of us have ever been there.
Oh, you should visit. It is really lovely. Well, it is when it's not 48 degrees in the shade.
I don't know if you're selling it.
When you get to my age, you just start to appreciate what makes places unique. It's funny. When I was a kid walking home barefoot from the local pool, I hated the scorching heat of the pavement, burning my soles with every step.
Yep, rightfully so, I might add.
Oh, yes, it was terrible. Just terrible, but I can't help feeling like that is some sort of core memory for me. Something I strangely look back on fondly now. That's what I mean about appreciating what makes things unique. There were no trees on the side of town back then, nothing to cool the path down. It was pretty much bush in some ways.
So what other things make Whyalla unique?
Well, it's funny you mention that. I helped out on a research project for a council a few years ago where they reviewed some classic stories, and it was a total dip in the memory pool.
I hope you had your shoes on when you hopped out.
What? Oh, yes. But from that, I remembered a lot of crazy things that happened. When people think of Whyalla, well, I suppose if they think of us at all, they tend to think of the steelworks and the ship.
The ship?
Oh, during World War II, we made corvettes for the navies as minesweepers, and after one of them, the HMAS, Whyalla, was past its use-by date, the council bought it and bought it on land at the Maritime Museum. You can go get tours of it. I wasn't there when they moved it. I split my time in my childhood between my mum in New Zealand and my dad here, but apparently it was quite a spectacle. There's a little film you can watch about the project here in town.
It actually does sound pretty cool. What are some of those weird stories you remember?
Well, I remember we had a huge rabbit problem, and the solution was to make a giant fence around the city. It turned tragic for me, a little girl and an animal lover. Thousands of these rabbits died of thirst, sun exposure, piling up on each other at the fences trying to get in. I remember these two girls. They were quite famous at the time, cycling around Australia. Wendy and Sharon? Maybe it was Sharon. They wanted to fill up their water bottles, but there were dead bunnies in the water supply. They came through and there were movie cameras and all sorts. I remember it very accurately because it was amazing, but also utterly heartbreaking.
Oh, that's crazy and gross. Did anyone else famous ever come through? Any other camera crews?
Not that I recall. It's not that kind of place. Sadly, Whyalla has never quite got the boom it was always supposed to have had. You live here long enough, you get used to it. Every 10 years there's another new idea, about 40,000 new people magically rolling in. But it's never happened.
So no one ever filmed anything there?
There was a TV show once, but I don't ever think it made it to air. It's a very Whyalla-like thing, you see, expecting something big to happen and then no follow-through.
What, a TV show? What was it about?
That I don't remember, but I do know that they filmed something at my friend's family's shop.
Gillen's Tuck Shop?
Yes. How did you know that? I went there all the time, mostly to try and get pity lollies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Standing at the counter and making doe eyes at Denise's mum. It worked occasionally. But I wouldn't try that with the lady we watched filming that show.
You remember someone who worked on the show?
Well, yes. It was just about the most exciting thing I'd ever witnessed at that point. But it's almost like I didn't remember it at all until you just mentioned it then.
But, so what was the lady like?
Lady?
The lady, you said there was a lady filming the show?
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, Denise and I were sitting in the back room behind the counter and trying to watch through the keyhole as they filmed. Something kind of strange about magic or curses or some other such nonsense. But it was exciting.
Can you tell me about the lady, please?
Well, she and the crew were in town for a few weeks. They were filming in a few different places, from what I remember. But the lady, she was very bossy. Nice, polite and everything, but very bossy. She definitely knew what she wanted.
What did she look like?
Ugh, it was so long ago, maybe the 60s. It's hard to remember. So hard.
She was a lady in the tuck shop, bossing people around.
Yeah, she was a lovely lady. Very bossy, but with a severe blonde bob and tinted glasses.
If you have any information about Back of Bourke, please get in touch with us. The link to the podcast website is in the show notes, and you can email us at bob@3pwidget.com.
A note that these episodes were recorded and researched on the stolen and unceded lands of the Kaurna people. The names of some of the locations discussed are colonial, and we understand and apologise for the atrocities that were committed during all the times from which we quote.